Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. I'm Tahir Dhindsa and you're watching SDTV. IMF has given some very startling and very worrisome figures, and how to understand them and what implication they have. I think we need help from some seasoned economist. One of the figure, which is, it's like a tenterhook hanging in the air, is 63 billion US dollar, which Pakistan need over the next 36 or 48 months. On external sector only, that is the gap that we need. All investment that might come cannot be more than 50 billion, 60 billion over the next 3 years. Then how we are going to manage it? Are we inching towards a structural default, or getting a loan from the IMF where it start demanding that we should lose our workforce and reduce the size of the government? Very drastic measure. We have today with us, for our help, just to try to decipher this riddle, we have today with us Dr. Ayesha Ghaus Pasha, who is a seasoned economist. She has worked in Punjab, largest province of Pakistan, as a finance minister. Dr. Sahib, a very warm welcome. I would like to understand, what is this figure? What connotation it has?
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Thank you for having me on board, and I can tell you exactly what all of this entails, because as you know, we are currently in the IMF standby facility. The IMF EFF program, which finished in June 2023, we didn't get all the money that we were supposed to get, because the government was unable to fulfill all the conditionalities, and the review didn't take place. The 9th review was the last one, and we didn't get the whole funding. Now we are currently in this standby facility. Why does a country go to the IMF program? Now, let me give you some basic indication, because it will give you an idea as to what has been the nature of the problem and the extent and severity of the problem. Countries go to the IMF program if they do not have enough dollars to finance their existing external obligations. The obligations are repayment of imports. When you import, you need to pay them in dollars, then debt servicing, repayment of interest, then repayment of loans, and so on and so forth. If the countries don't have enough dollars with them, then they have to go to the IMF program, because they need external inflows, and they are unable to generate it themselves through their own regular mechanism. The regular mechanism generally is earnings from exports, remittances. To give you an example, in 22, our remittances and our export earnings together were totaling $60 billion, while our import requirement itself was above $70 billion. So there was a gap, leave alone the other obligations for the external community. So we went into the IMF program. It was already there. We revived it. And we are currently in the 23rd IMF program since 1988. So this will give you an idea how frequently we've gone back to the IMF, which will give you an idea how much vulnerable we are as a country in terms of generating our own dollars in a structural way, so that we can cover up our own external obligations. Now, coming back to this number of 63, IMF in its projections over the year 23-24 over the next 3 years, they have projected the external requirements to be $63 billion. This is what we need to generate as a nation to just pay back the debt servicing requirement, pay back our loans, pay back our external obligations in terms of financing our imports, and so on and so forth. How are we going to do and manage this? $63 billion is a very big amount. At this point of time, our export for this particular year are going to be only 27 billion or so. Remittance is included again. This is a major amount. The gap as of this year is $17.5 billion. It may be more, but it's at least $17.5 billion. How are we going to get the money? The IMF is going to give us some money. We are going to roll over some of the external money that our brother countries like Saudi Arabia and UAE have given it to us. Even if we see a net of that, the other sources basically are multilateral agencies like the World Bank, the Asian Development Bank, the Islamic Development Bank, Asian Infrastructure Bank of China. If I can give you some numbers and roughly share the numbers with you, for this year, the total commitment that we were thinking the development partners will give us for the full year is $5,336 million, which is $5.3 billion. Up till now, in the first 4 months, what have we actually received? $583 million. Major gap. So the thing which is worrisome is that even these multilateral agencies, inflows are not coming in, even though we are in an IMF program. And we have been in an IMF program for the last,
What is
this
the
time.
reason? It's a lack of confidence on economy, economic structure, or economic prowess of Pakistan, or it's political in nature.
I think a lot of it has to do with the way our governance is structured.
Right.
Yes, a lack of confidence is a major problem, cannot be more emphasized. Because when countries, or even the brother countries, turn around and say, and multilaterals like World Bank and the others turn around and tell you that get on the IMF program and then we will, consider projects with you. That means what is it that they are thinking about? They're saying this country is vulnerable. They do not get their own house in order. They postpone structural adjustment programs if they have any leeway, and they just abandon the path of reform. And if we continue to do so, we may have problems in getting our money back. That, to me, is a very viable reason why they do not go ahead and consider this. Now that we are in an IMF program, that threat to some extent is averted because we are on a program and we want to, the nation stands committed to it. Now what is hindering it is again governance problem. Now these in multilateral agencies are funding projects in Pakistan. They have to meet milestones to get reimbursements. They're not meeting those milestones. Look at how the World Bank gives you program. The World Bank currently has a RISE program, which relates to the resilience program on the taxation side. If we undertake those tax reforms, the money will come. Then they have an energy sector program, PACE program. If you do those energy sector reforms, the money will come. So my point is that we have to complete these projects timely, both the provincial governments as well as the federal government, for us to be eligible to use this money. And it is a catastrophe that we are unable to get this money from these institutions because these are very concessional, cheap loans. If we are committed to buy them, they are very cheap loans and they're 5.3 billion and we are unable to even get them, then we need to get our house in order. It's very troublesome. And it's something that we need to emphasize.
It or not, all these, these reforms are fiscal in nature. Fiscal in nature because if you want to, in energy sector, it is primarily fiscal. Hemorrhage, if you stop, it's
Yes.
fiscal in nature. And with the resilience, it's all governance. It's very, very difficult. It's very difficult on that because it has political connotation. For example, the taxation, you need to tax retailers and traders in the streets, and they are the voters of major political parties. So do you think we are in default? Is something? The word default is something real.
The word default and Pakistan's probability of default is very real. Very real. But what I need to tell you is that you've hit the nail on its head. Why are we in the position that we are in? We are in because we are spending more than we are earning.
Yes.
And the principal reason why on the domestic side we are not earning is that we are not raising enough tax revenues. Is it that we are not raising enough tax revenues from the public at large? I will be very frank with you, and I will tell you that the burden of taxation in this country is more on the poor. It's a regressive taxation structure. Why? Because we levy those taxes which are indirect in nature. They are people who are all said and done voiceless. The communities and the constituencies or those elites which are really very powerful in policy making, they are able to influence tax policy. Now, I'll cite some examples for you. Property taxation. Who will be burdened more if we do better policy taxation? Property taxation. Properties are owned by the rich. Will they let you levy property tax at market prices? History is giving you the answer. No. Agricultural income tax. 22% of the land is owned by top 2% of the population. Will they let you levy proper commensurate agricultural income tax? They're sitting in the assemblies. They are bureaucrats sitting in their offices. Will they let you do this? History again has given you the answer. No. Political economy. The point. Let me make this last sentence is that the political economy has hindered reform, and until and unless the political economy is set, these reforms will not happen.
Ma'am, in nutshell, what you're saying is, if I boil it down to one word, it's probably, we don't like this word, but it's elite capture.
Absolutely.
It's elite capture. Do you think from a couple of days from now, when the elections are coming, all political parties from both sides of the fence, the whole spectrum of political parties, from latitude and all sort of parties, can come together to form some covenant on economy? Like once there was an agreement between two major parties on democracy.
Yes. Actually,
it is possible.
This is the need of the hour.
Right.
Because if we continue to...
I'm saying before election.
Yes. The reason I'm saying this is the need of the hour is that once the government comes into power, the first few weeks or months, 100 days or whatever you may call it, I would think the first 6 months is the time when you really need to take tough decisions, because you can push it. You're on the swing. You can take tough decisions and say that this is what we have inherited. This is the negatives that we have. This is the severity of the problem. This is how it can be put right. And you can do that reform. And if the tenure of the government is for 5 years, then those reforms probably will be, create problems for the government for the next year, 2 years or 2.5 years. And after that, the pain is bound to become less. So at the time they go in for the new elections, they will be in a time where the people will not perhaps remember the very painful stage, but they will start seeing some of the benefits of those pains incurred. Now, mind you, I have to tell you this. The pains have already been incurred by the masses. This time we are more talking about, relatively speaking, more pain on the elite, because it's time for them to now cough up something for the economy, both in terms of withdrawing of a tax exemption as well as austerity in economy in public expenditure, and in terms of conservations on the external side, where we are import substituting, giving up the luxury imports and the not so necessary imports, and really going ahead with major export promotion strategy, which will not be just the export sectors which have traditionally been supported, but other than that. So
Political parties are right, left, and center coming for election. And the manifesto, I don't know, should People's Party has given his manifestos are coming. Do you think this is the need, but the political parties have appetite to do that?
my own feeling, if you want me to answer this very candidly, I'll answer it. See, political parties in their manifestos and at the election stage, they like to give out goodies. This is what the history tells us. This is the tradition. When I come back, I will do this for you. When I come into power, I will do this for you. I think the political party should understand that the people of Pakistan have suffered. They know that we are in trouble. Businesses have suffered. They know what the state of the economy is. I myself, as a technocrat also, will feel that I think if you tell the people are very smart people. If you stand up and you tell them that this is the problems we are facing, they will require this kind of measures. Some of them will be painful for you. Let's do them together so that in the medium term or so, we all can be on most solid footing as far as economic growth is concerned. So we can, after stabilization, we can go on to a growth path, which will be broad-based growth. Everyone will benefit. If you come up with that kind of a manifesto, I think people will accept it and they will look up. Yes. If you come up with a manifesto which is just a wish list, an analysis of, I think, a research institution highlighted that only less than 10% of the manifestos are really realized, implemented in the course of the 5-year tenure of the government. If you want to play the cards the same way, come up with a manifesto which is not to be implemented, then
yes, ma'am,
what can
question,
I say?
Towards the fag end of this very short interview. If the doctor has diagnosed and prescribed, and the doctor is IMF, and I filed another with them. They say, and they are advising, one is to divert to the mid to long term policies, spend money there, not on consumption. And second, what they're saying is it's about time that the fiscal policy should hurt vertically vertically as well. So, do you think? But the political parties, they are thinking in terms of 1 quarter or 2 quarters for very obvious reasons, none of their fault. Do you think there is some way that this gap is bridged, and based on that consensus, I mean not macro but in details, because the devil is in details on the fiscal side and other, some agreement in political parties can be formed before election?
I myself feel that, see, the international agencies are basically saying the right things.
Right.
We really should do that. There may be some disagreement on the modalities, but that's all right. The principles are right. Tax the rich, make this economy more sustainable, make the structure better governance, and so on and so forth. No one can really, in their right mind, disagree with what they are saying. Right now, the political parties also are not disagreeing, but the devil is in the details. When it comes to thrashing out the strategies to achieve it, this is where they start getting cold feet. They get cold feet, and then that's what's happening. There is disagreement. But my plea to the political parties is the following. See, Pakistan has muddled through for the last, I'm telling you, 23 IMF programs since 88. We have muddled through not just for 1-2 years, but for decades now. How far more do you want to take Pakistan crawling like this? Yes. There is no space for muddling anymore. You will now fall in the ditch if you don't look at things right. You are the leaders. You are the policy makers for 241 million people. You have a responsibility for the people of Pakistan. $250 million. You have a responsibility for the people. Would you think about your own vested interests now and again delay the program for your own little benefits? Or do you want to take the hard route and really talk not about yourself, but the state of Pakistan, the people of Pakistan, If you do, then you will take some of these tough decisions and move forward. And I think this is the time for Pakistan to really do it, because the elections are coming. If they have a more or less agreed to outcomes, minimal agenda of change, what is it that the country really needs at the minimum for us to come to those solid grounds which we are missing for the last many years? If we agree on that, then as soon as the new government it comes, no other opposition party can blame the government for implementing those proposals.
Right.
There will be consensus. There will be, and the nation can go through that the difficulty stage without the chaos of handling opposition parties and the chaos they create by definition inherently in their nature for each other. So if you want to go do away with that, this is the time for some kind of a minimal understanding, so that soon after the election, the program is made and things are implemented. And there's no political point scoring on pointing fingers on the government for taking decisions which may be painful, tough, but are really what is needed for the country.
Right. We are hearing this, that the fiscal sovereignty is actual sovereignty. And as you have just heard, that Pakistan's sovereignty is at stake. It's now it is existentialist. The threat is real and it's existentialist. And the political parties are there. Whatever going to happen in the next 2 or 3 months is going to cast a shadow or determine the fate that what is going to happen in the next 3 decades or 30 years or 10 years. That is the fate. And that would be the modus, not only that would be the fate accompli. So this is very clear now, that decide now or you will be doomed, and the time to act is now. With this, we get permission. Madam, thank you very much for sparing that much time, my son, from busy schedule, and I thank you. Goodbye for now.